Hello once again. In this session, hello, Mr. Taylan. Welcome. Thank you. You can start whenever you're ready. Okay. Let me share my screen first. Let me briefly introduce myself. I have been an independent game developer for 6, 7 years now, and my story started in the beginning of my university years, and I was introduced to Fantastic Worlds, and I started to write my own story. After some time, I was enrolled in uh, game design and development club of İTÜ Istanbul Technical University, and since then I have been developing games. I have tried to go to every event that was possible, that was there, and for a long time, at least in my surrounding, in my environment, in my circles, I try to have debate. Actually, in Turkish language institutions definition, it is a tendency school that has futures qualifications in a branch of art or science. Most important thing here is adding the question why, and Ecole or vision or mission concepts having the description of what. If we are talking about of what, if we are talking about game, we need to decide on what game is. And mobile game, hyper casual, casual, PC games, these are the terms we use, but these should be descripted as well. And the goal might be having customized descriptions, or these could be solutions to general problematics. And the question how is actually would have a whole curriculum to answer. It can include what should be done, and also it could include the way to take the most fundamental decisions. Actually, this presentation of mine is done with some perception, with some objective. In Turkey, independent game developers or game developing face a threat, face a risk. And this risk, if you asked 4 years ago, let's say, maybe I wouldn't think there wasn't such a threat. My experience was less, and also the general atmosphere was different. The threats in Turkey are as follows. In the world, the demand for qualified professionals increase, but I don't think we are catching up with it fast enough. And in Turkey, there is a mobile game Ecole in Turkey that is dominant, and it somehow, in a way, limits the other areas. I will go into detail about this point. Also, we have such a case that the technology is changing rapidly, and there are many variations, and the know-how that is obtained difficultly needs to change faster and more variable. It should be more variable. Technological advancements are beneficial from one point, and they are detrimental from one point because it makes finalizing the product easier. But at the same time, as I just said, monopolization in any sector is a really threatening. And in the world, the acquisition and dominating the sector, monopolizing and having the competition innovation power in every area are because of this, because the technological advancements increase and several people try to take share of this cake and major corporations come up with a reaction against it. This is not only limited to gaming industry, but in many industries we see this. Of course, for Turkey, this is a bigger threat because in a developed country, or let's say a country with a stable economy, in a country with a stable economy, there might not be need to a lot of enterprises. A market margin, a market share of a company might be really large, or ecosystem might have settled because from the communities or the schools, people might be trained and they might not have a hard time finding jobs. But in Turkey, such limitations are limiting an area that we are really in need. There might be precautions against it, but in Turkey, an independent developer's story should be narrated, and I will be doing so. Let's talk about our hypothetical independent gaming developer. For instance, this developer tries to come up with its own project, doesn't have the know-how to do it on its own, and doesn't have any funding for himself. Actually, cannot hire people that can work for him. So the problem is with the capital. So there are some needs to go towards this goal, and there are steps to be taken to do so. First, he needs a team. He needs to work together with people, and to do this, he should meet people. And the first step is going into a community. There are people that can do what he wants them to do. These people are there, but this person should find those people, and this community should have people with standards and qualifications to do so. It should be equipping these people with correct network and correct know-how. And after that, our developer, our hypothetical developer, found this community, and to find the team, he will spend time, meet people, spend time with them, and also will know about himself. And let's say he come up with a team he succeeded in do, and their talent sets meet, and then they started to work together, and this is a learning process as well on its own, and it will also take time. Also, he will try to come up with a new project that is suitable for him, and this project should be meeting his own talent set and know-how. And to be able to do this, to be succeed in this, he should be having the required experience. And now they have a product, let's say. To finalize this product, they need time, and to do the marketing, they need the source. To do the sales, to finalize it, they need some resource. To meet that resource, there are some tools. This might be an incubation center, a contest, and the organization or the phenomenon they apply to should have the criteria that would meet their work, their product, and they should be providing the necessary funding for this given project. When you go into a contest, you run with many mobile game projects, and there are different demands from different people, and people are looking for funding. Actually, this is a good competition because if you are marketing a product, you can win the contest, you can be convincing, and it's a correct competition. What I want to express here is the following. for our industry to grow because of the threats, because of the limited time and other limitations. If we are coming up with an Ecole, if that's our goal in independent game developing or game developing, and it should be suitable for the other industries. And if we are trying to coming up with a narrative that is meeting the world standards, and this can be for literature, this can be for TV shows and all that. And to come up with narratives, we need to come up with equals for narratives. And since I think we are lagging back in every area in this regard, and since I think there's a need here, and also when you live it on your own, we are lagging back in this competition. I believe we need some positive discrimination and sharing of the risks. We need positive discrimination and sharing of risks. And it starts at this point that I just talked about as an example. These organizations' criteria, when we are determining them, we might be having fair conditions, fair criteria. This is just an example of the things that we can do. But even at this point, the specific points should be pointed, and there should be specific points in contests, and it will be positive discrimination in a way. And I believe this is what we need. In countries with the need of many enterprises, with an unstable economy, and in a country where many projects are needed, and there is the gap to be able to do mistakes, this is the correct way. And at the same time, if there are other limitations to that industry, and if there is a huge Ecole, like in Turkey, the mobile Ecole, the space is even more narrow, because deliberately or indeliberately, the phenomena in the atmosphere try to feed from that Ecole. And since it's a more safer way, the labor and the resources focus on this area. And the trainings, the enterprises, the investments are feeding that area, and the Ecole itself feeds itself. So it's a problem to do business on your own. And if you are trying to come up with an Ecole in different industries and to come up with a narrative level that meets the world standards, and if that's what we want, actually, we start to see these problems. That's when we start to see the problems. And if we are not, if we don't care about it, then the problem is people with ideas but no sources. So what can we do about these people? There are different moves in different scales, potential moves, and on community scale, well, let me rephrase. I believe what we need to do essentially is about the different compatibility problems. The developers' desires, having the talent set and crew according to it, the community that they are in being suitable, compatible with it, and the project they select being compatible with it, and the market being compatible with it, are the problems, the compatibility problems I mentioned. And we need to have descriptions and mainstreams that will solve these problems. There are these mainstreams actually. In Turkey, what we lack at this area is that the people working in this sector or people interested in this sector have not received any training about this area, and they are not coming up from any Ecole. And this specification has just started. And as far as I observe, from the youngest to the oldest professional in the sector, everyone has an idea what to do and how to do. There are people that they agree with, and there is some certain lack here. And these people are not comfortable finding each other. They cannot have an easy time finding each other. And to find ground to their ideas, to base their ideas, they have a hard time. And also they have a hard time having these ideas taken seriously. The debate atmosphere in Turkey has stuck. I will talk about two far edges, but I know they are existent. At one point, at one edge, there are people who want to come up with enterprises. They say, I want to do an indie and I will come up with some game. They are not taken seriously and they are considered as too utopic. And there are people who are making money over hyper casual and they are told you are selling your souls, you are giving up on your ideals and so on. This is the reflex that we see on the other edge. So for the both edges, there is the comparisonatory perception, and they are always collapsing and they're always in conflict. And we are forgetting that there are many areas that we can work on, that we can improve ourselves. To be able to do that, to be widen up this area, to widen up this space on the idea scale, things should be taken seriously and they should be acknowledged. Okay, let's say we are this community or that organization, and we say we adopted this Ecole and we will only support this should not be the tendency. That's not what I'm talking about. Because if we do so, it will lead us to the same destination and we will be stuck at the same points. The equals that we need, whatever they are, this might be internationally accepted equals, or it might be the importation of it, or it might be something that we developed from scratch, or it might be the synthesis of we developed so far. So we need to have debates about it, and the best solution will be the existing communities. There are certain events that we need that I cannot directly name, and the result should be the following. In game developing area, we should be naming different methods and why they are valuable and how they can be implemented. We need certain records about how to do these. And someone just entering this sector or someone thinking of investing in this area should be aware of their options and should be aware of their solutions. And this should be developing naturally. Let's say for 5 years in our club, let's say, we had debates on many areas, but we are still not able to name certain things, coin terms. And it's not only about one organization, one institution, but it should be a collective initiative to take the world of ideas seriously and debate them seriously. Of course, this is not only about creating ideas, but it is also about the methods that will support these ideas and putting them into a curriculum. These institutions that would train people on international standards is a huge scale thing. But to come up with such an institution and to identify its needs is not that difficult. Rather than saying this is an Ecole in a very optimistic way or in utopic way, we can start with small steps and put things into curriculum. This might be the more sensible way. From the most boutique training program to the university level, we can try to make these programs define themselves based on these international levels. And we can say that this training institution can direct you in this way, or that one can help you in that way. So we can help them that way. So we can make a synthesis here. And the educational program, I'm talking about the whole levels, can redefine themselves, reorganize themselves, or reinterpret themselves in that directions. Incubation centers, contests that I have just mentioned, game jams, or let's say, and even the criteria in a game jam, or the judges there can work to reconsider their processes to meet these compatibilities. If we come up with such a debate atmosphere, people will start to develop their ideas, not only on community level, but also on individual level. We see this problem. We should be as positive as possible in this process, because actually it's artificial, because if it would be natural, it would have happened in 5-6 years, but there are reasons for not it having happened. And if we are to support these initiatives, there will be more disparate competition. It will be about claiming that other methods are wrong or other ideas are bad. So if something will be unsuccessful, it should be unsuccessful on its own. We should ensure that. And the communication and interaction should be as natural as possible. These organizations should be in contact as much as possible. It is not only nepotism, and we should not have nepotism, or we should not have always being egocentric. Let me see if I need to say anything else. Let me continue. Okay. As I said, the problem is the problem of the developers, and they need to contribute to the solution of this problem as much as possible. And the first debates are the first need to feed this and to be feeded from this. We should have a community, and we should this could be physical or online, being there, and we should think as to how individuals and developers will support this debate. And there is a certain responsibility towards the community, and we should share this responsibility. It can be helping developing a really small technique, but even this technique being used in different ecoles should be organized by us. As I just mentioned, there are these compatibility issues, and even though they are tried to be motivated, or people are tried to be raised awareness, the developers have some burden, and particularly the young developers, the developers even younger than me, they should be careful when they are choosing team or project, and they should be really aware when they are developing projects, and they should be compatible with the road that they are chosen. That's how we can get efficiency. The problem we are trying to solve here is efficiency, basically. Of course, at some point, people will come up with successful projects, there will be successful investments, and the point here is to create an industry and to make this know-how an industry, and to create ways to lay the foundations of this industry. Of course, the successful team or company and their contribution is needed. But even though the organization or the company, a gaming company or a team wants this, they, let's say they sold a really good game, they were really successful. If this team cannot direct people that want to try to follow them, and they cannot find the atmosphere to do that, the efficiency will be really low. And the know-how accumulation and information accumulation should not be defined on defining them over equals. If we did so consciously, we could have more clearer ways, and we could have had more clearer suggestions. Supporting this and investing on this have some advantages. There is some certain approach, but let me, I will talk about this later, but let me just talk about it. We have a conception, okay, going into such a project is really risky, and there is the high possibility of losing. So people with influence, many people with influence, when they are giving suggestions to their circles, I see they are promoting more clear and guaranteed ways, and they always promote being more cautious, more hesitant. In that communication, in that dialogue, this might be something positive, look like something positive, but in terms of general effect, it is not. If 100 people will try 100 projects, but we try 50 people and 50 projects, we have now 50 mistakes. And if we don't make enough mistakes, we don't know what ecosystem is the best. And there is a resilience against misconceptions. There are bad comments about people's work, but I'm not talking about them. There are many resilience. The instability of economy in Turkey, making investment being difficult and all that. So we should be thinking about all this. People, there are people who are taking the risk and who are tolerating mistakes. And what I'm talking about at some point, when we get to spending resources, there should be the sharing of risks. Otherwise, an Ecole or an industry, gaming development industry, mobile, in mobile games light, I think we are just taking our shots. Let's say we are trying to come up with a compact know-how. What can we do? Let's say. Actually, the first stage is really easy. Organizations, communities, companies should all have this Ecole in their vision and mission. Actually, there are no huge difference between vision, mission, and Ecole, but there are simple questions like why do we do this? They might add this question to their vision. We should enlarge the influence sphere as much as possible. Actually adding an Ecole to this vision and mission and specifying it and trying to make a community more niche and more and smaller will be our goal. And many communities will try to defend itself because getting smaller is not the choice, because many communities try to grow larger, and this might seem as a threat for them. But we try to get niche. This is what we need, but there should be precautions of communities to prevent that. It is not only saying we have 10 people and let's move together with them. We should think like, I'm thinking this, and with whom can I walk? Who can I convince? And this requires a raising awareness process. And this raising awareness process will involve hundreds of people as a group. We can say the game is this and it is done like this. We can agree on one point as the whole community, and we can say this is done this way. But in social atmosphere, there should be seriousness and awareness in people even outside the game atmosphere. For instance, it might be encouraging of the family to the youngster who is ambitious about it, or it might be about convincing the investors. So we require a collective raising awareness for this Ecole. Maybe one of the most important points, we have current models with success and the reasons of success, and there are ways to do them. Beyond knowing them, adapting them, and adopting them, and bringing them home, and making most benefit of them should be our goal, and not making guesses. Reducing the guesswork might be the point. When the equals start to lose contact, there might be polarization. And also in the first stage, saying this is done like that, this is done like this, and being descriptive might be taking ourselves too seriously. And taking ourselves too seriously is something that we need, but for some time. After a certain point, we will, of course, have success points about all this. And when the industry knows them, we will learn, we will not be able to learn what is correct and what is wrong, and there might be blurry areas. And if we identify them, we can come up with clearer ways. And something that I mentioned in the beginning, the elements or points in the beginning of the project should be compatible with each other. And to solve this problem, we should come up with this Ecole. Actually, this is the end of my conversation, but I want to give you a brief example. This is a really individual approach. These are my opinions, and as to how, I will talk about some pinpoints, and I will be talking about points that will support it. Coming up with alternatives, debating these points, and what these points will bring and fetch, and to do analysis to do that, we need these arguments. And I'm giving my own example so that you can see what I'm talking about. You can say oh, okay, he's talking about this and he's talking about eliminating these. On the first stage, this is all about I think, the motto I think. With my colleagues and with myself, I always look for something. Learning to be excited and not forgetting to be excited. This might be getting excited for something that someone else did or something that you yourself did. It is about being able to getting excited about something when we are starting a project, because the whole process will be built on this. That's my desire. Then turning this point that we are excited into technique and design, and having technique and design crew and building everything on excitement. The game that we are creating and the target group we have will have needs of narrative, and we should come up with narratives or experience to meet their story need. So I'm talking about the goal here, and it's also about the market that we are going in, and it is also about our objectives. Then, rather than a stereotype worrying, stereotype concern, and being genuine, effort of being genuine, putting objective standards for the game flow. If you learn about technical problems, then you can prevent them. Actually, there is nothing to go into detail. It is really clear. Let's skip this point. So what I internalized about how is finding something to be excited and building your game on it. This was all from me. Thank you. Let's see if we have questions. Let's check the check as well. We have still not have any questions. If you have anything to add, you can go on. Or if we have questions in the meantime, we can go on. We have 10 minutes. Thank you for your presentation. Let's think about this. There is a small effort that you can do. I'm checking LinkedIn game applications, game jobs applications. There is something really beneficial. Putting high casual or hyper casual in parentheses about the games in job applications might give us some reference. This is really beneficial, I guess. This would do us really good. And then we will see something clearer. You can see how there are so few job opportunities in other areas rather than casual and hyper casual. For instance, when you are organizing a game jam, coming up with a judge, coming up with a jury, we are always getting together to come up with boutique games. There are game jams for mobile games, and these are really beneficial projects, I guess. And the first need that I identified in this area, I don't want to give names, but generally the communities should create an atmosphere that the ideas can be taken seriously, rather than being understood as utopic or idealistic. They should be considered as needed, necessary, and that's the reason I wanted to deliver this speech. Risk, change, and positive discrimination, I said. The best examples for it might be, for instance, the speech I deliver right now. It does me good. It might do me good. Maybe someone else could be here, and Indieway could address many people. And a positive discrimination example is that I was considered as eligible for this point. Gaming Istanbul in the kiosk might be another example, in the kiosks, because with more profitable sales, they could rent this kiosk to that another company. But with sharing of risks, there is opportunity given to Indieway, indie developers. I don't know what will be the short-term advantages of this, but as E2 Gaming Developing Club, this is where we started. We tried to deliver games in this area, and we got around in this area. We have been here with many teams and many people, and this sharing of risk ended up in a different organization. We can make synthesis of our ideas and try to convey them to other people. So these are the examples I can name. I agree with you. And in Istanbul, there are many game studios in Istanbul. But in Turkey, generally, we are always talking about hyper casual for the last couple years. Most people don't want to come up with hyper casual. They are working in gaming industry, but they are obliged to do hyper casual in a way. Do you have any suggestions about this? What can we do about it? What can these people do? Actually, I'm right into it. This is not something I directly worked in, but I started to look for jobs right now. The first move that they can do, finding people think like them and supporting each other, empowering each other. If there are people to come up with funding, so resources, making use of it, and to increase the error gap, to increase the reduce gap, there might be mid formulas, shortcuts. But the first point is staying together. This is the biggest problem. After university, we quickly get separated, and this happens really quickly. And if there was a small addition from outside, that would be really good. A small contribution from outside, that would be really good. How can you protect an Ecole? Actually, an Ecole should be tested really quickly in different stages. It should be convincing in debate atmosphere, and it should be motivating people. It should be gluing people. And it should be tested on the market as quickly as possible. It might have academic objectives, but it should be tested in different levels. After passing this test, the thing that we need to avoid is not having this disappeared, but not having this as the mainstream idea, because in the need of acceptable idea, the reaction is accepting the first idea. So we should be supporting the other ideas and to make sure that other ideas find place in the debate atmosphere. If you have anything to add, you can go on. I don't think we have any other questions. Thank you for your presentation. I wish everyone healthy days. Stay with games. Thanks a lot for your participation. See you. See you.